Hey there, and welcome to a deep dive into something I think you're really going to love. We're diving into lucid dreaming. You sent over some fascinating books from leading experts, and I have to say I'm ready to unlock these insights with you. Ever find yourself questioning reality in the middle of a dream? Well, that, my friend, is just a tiny glimpse into the world that we're going to explore today. So no need for any long introductions or anything like that. Let's just jump right in. Can you give us a simple explanation? What exactly is lucid dreaming?
Okay, so picture this, right? You're in a dream, maybe you're flying over a city or having tea with a talking cat, and all of a sudden you have this realization, like, wait a minute, I'm dreaming. And that's it. That's the core of lucid dreaming. It's that awareness that you're in a dream while it's actually happening.
It's like, when you're watching a movie and for a split second that illusion kind of breaks and you remember you're watching a screen. It's like that, right?
Exactly. But instead of just watching in a lucid dream, you actually have the potential to kind of step in and influence what happens.
See, that's what I find so fascinating. It's like this idea that we might actually be able to shape our dreams, to explore the furthest reaches of our minds. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we need to talk about the why. Beyond just having, these really cool dreams, what's the bigger draw here?
Well, the potential benefits are honestly pretty remarkable. Think of it almost like a mental gem for personal growth.
Yeah.
And one area where this becomes really interesting is in something called shadow work.
Okay, shadow work. I've heard that term before. What does it actually mean when we're talking about lucid dreaming?
So it's this idea that we can use these lucid dreams to kind of confront and understand parts of ourselves that we might normally avoid in our waking lives. So things like our fears, our insecurities, past traumas, these things can often manifest in our dreams.
So instead of running away from that, monstrous spider in my dream, I could theoretically stop and have a conversation with it, figure out what it symbolizes.
Precisely. It gives you this safe space to confront those fears, to explore maybe where they come from. You can even kind of reframe your whole relationship with them.
Wow. Okay, so it's almost like having a therapy session with your own subconscious mind.
Exactly.
That's a powerful image. And I think it really speaks to this idea that lucid dreaming, it's not just about escapism, it's about gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Absolutely. And that self-awareness can actually go beyond just personal growth. Some people actually use lucid dreaming to work through creative blocks they might have, to practice skills, or even to find solutions to problems that have been really bugging them in their waking life.
Wait, so you're saying people are actually solving problems in their sleep?
It's more common than you might think. So when we dream, our minds are kind of freed from all those constraints of logic and, that kind of linear thinking that we do in our waking life, and we can make connections we wouldn't normally consider, which can actually lead to those aha moments of insight.
That's incredible. It's like our subconscious mind becomes this creative tower house when we're asleep. Okay, now I'm starting to see the application here. It's not just about having fun in dreamland. It's like tapping into this whole level of mental potential that we have.
Yeah. And we've honestly only just scratched the surface here. Did you know that some spiritual traditions, like Tibetan Buddhism, they've been practicing a form of lucid dreaming, which is called dream yoga, for centuries?
You've definitely got me curious now. This is already so much more than I thought I knew about lucid dreaming. But I have to ask, how do we actually get there? Do we need any special crystals or dream catchers or anything like that?
Thankfully, no mystical paraphernalia is required. Think of it more like you're developing a skill, almost like a set of techniques that you practice to kind of increase those chances of having a lucid dream. The real key is training your mind to question its reality, not just when you're dreaming, but also when you're awake in your everyday life.
Okay, so how do we test our reality if everything in the dream feels so real? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, one of the most effective techniques, and a really great place to start, is called reality testing.
Reality testing. Okay, that sounds interesting. So what exactly does that involve?
So it's all about creating these little, almost like mental habits that you do throughout the day to help you start to distinguish between when you're dreaming and when you're in waking reality.
So we're basically training our minds to notice those subtle differences, spotting those glitches in the matrix or something.
Exactly. And one of the most popular methods for this is something called the text test, which is about as straightforward as it sounds.
Okay.
All throughout your day, look at something with text, like a sign or a book, your phone, anything. Glance at it, look away, and then look back again. you'll notice that the text stays stable, right?
Yeah, because in reality, words don't just like rearrange themselves usually.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But in dreams, text often shifts. It
Yeah.
changes. It might get jumbled up.
Huh, interesting.
So if you make a habit of doing this text test throughout your day, you're much more likely to do it in your dreams as well. So if that text starts going a bit haywire, you kind of know, okay, something's up here.
Okay, that is really clever. I'm already just picturing how strange it would be to see the text like melting and changing in front of my eyes.
Yeah?
Are there any other kind of reality checks that we can use?
Yeah, for sure. So another common one is actually looking at your hands.
Okay.
In dreams, hands often look a bit distorted. Maybe you've got extra fingers or the features are kind of blurry. You can also try like flipping a light switch on and off. In dreams, the light often doesn't behave quite as you'd expect it to.
Right, yeah.
I like this. It encourages you to be more mindful, even when you're awake, too, of your surroundings.
Exactly. And the more you practice these reality checks while you're awake, the more they kind of become ingrained in your subconscious, which makes them even more likely to kind of bubble up in your dreams.
It's like you're planting these seeds of awareness so they can grow in the dream world.
I like that. That's a good analogy. Now, along with reality testing, another really important aspect of lucid dreaming is dream recall.
Ah, dream recall, yes. This is where I struggle, I have to admit. I might remember snippets or feelings, but the actual details just disappear so quickly.
That's really common. You're not alone in that at all. But the good news is dream recall is a skill that you can develop like anything else.
Okay, good.
And one of the best ways to do this is by keeping a dream journal. A dream journal.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like jotting down those dream snippets as soon as you wake up.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be this big, long, literary masterpiece or anything. Just a few words, maybe a phrase or two, whatever you need to capture those images or emotions from the dream. The key here is just to make it a habit.
Okay.
So keep a notebook right by your bed, and as soon as you wake up, even if it's just for a minute or two, jot down whatever you can remember.
So even if it's like just a single image or a color or just a feeling.
Absolutely. Because the more you do it, the more you're signaling to your brain that these dreams, these experiences that you're having, are worth paying attention to.
It's like exercising a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. Now, if you're really serious about wanting to induce these lucid dreams, there's actually a specific technique that a lot of people find really helpful, and it's called MILD, which stands for Mnemonic-Induced Lucid Dreaming.
MILD. Okay, that sounds a little intimidating for a beginner, but interesting. Break it down for us. What exactly is mild?
It might sound kind of complicated, but it's actually very simple. Before you go to sleep, you're simply setting this very clear intention in your mind.
Okay.
And you can just repeat to yourself something like, tonight I will know that I'm dreaming. And really try to visualize yourself becoming lucid in a dream, experiencing that aha moment.
So you're basically just planting that seed, that awareness in your mind before you even fall asleep.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like setting an alarm clock, but for your dreams.
That is a great way to put it. I love how all of these techniques, it's all about training our minds, becoming more aware, more intentional, not just in our dreams, but in our waking lives too.
Precisely. And, the more we learn about the actual science behind lucid dreaming, the more all of these techniques start to make a lot of sense. Did you know that researchers have been able to objectively verify that lucid dreaming is actually a real phenomenon?
Really? That's amazing. I mean, how is that even possible? Like to measure something happening inside someone's dream?
Well, it's actually pretty ingenious. So that all started with this discovery that when we're in REM sleep, our bodies are mostly paralyzed, but our eyes are actually moving in sync with what we're seeing in the dream.
Oh, wow. So if I'm dreaming about, playing a game of basketball, my eyes would be darting around as if I was watching the game in real life.
Exactly. So back in the 1970s and 80s, researchers had these lucid dreamers agree to perform specific eye movements, kind of like a signal, as soon as they became lucid in their dream. So, for example, they might look left, right, as a way of signaling, hey, I'm lucid.
That's brilliant. And they were actually able to do that.
They were. The researchers could clearly see these prearranged eye movements on the EEG recordings, which proved that these dreamers were consciously aware and actually in control of their actions inside their dreams.
That's incredible. It's not just like anecdotal evidence. There's actually scientific data to back it up.
Exactly. And since then, the research in this area has just exploded. Like studies are using brain imaging, things like fMRI, and they've shown that certain areas of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for things like self-awareness and decision-making, it becomes way more active during lucid dreaming compared to just regular non-lucid dreaming.
So it's like lucid dreaming is giving our brain a workout. It's strengthening those higher cognitive functions.
That's a great way to put it. And, the implications of all this research, it's not just about understanding consciousness. It's opening up these incredible possibilities for things like therapy. So, for example, there's a growing body of evidence that lucid dreaming can actually be a really powerful tool for treating things like nightmares.
That makes sense, right? Because instead of feeling powerless in a nightmare, lucid dreaming gives you that sense of agency. Like you can actually confront and potentially even change the course of that nightmare.
Exactly. And there's even evidence that practicing lucid dreaming can actually reduce how often you have nightmares and how intense they are.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you're actually rewiring those fear responses in your brain.
This is incredible. So instead of dreading sleep, someone who suffers from chronic nightmares could actually find relief and even empowerment through lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
This is so much more than just this whimsical exploration of the mind. This has real tangible benefits.
It does, yeah. And, as we kind of go deeper into this world of lucid dreaming, we inevitably start encountering some pretty big questions, things that really push the boundaries of our understanding of reality itself.
You're talking about those big philosophical questions, right? Like, what if our ability to create these whole worlds in our dreams means that reality itself is more fluid or more subjective than we realize?
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating and maybe even a little unsettling mysteries of lucid dreaming, and that's the nature of dream figures. So who are these characters that we encounter in our dreams? Are they just figments of our subconscious, or could they be something more?
I have to say, this is where it gets really interesting to me. Like, on the one hand, it's easy to think of these dream characters as just parts of our own mind. Like they're just these subconscious puppets acting out our inner dramas. But then you hear these stories about people having these incredibly vivid and meaningful interactions with these figures in their dreams. And sometimes they even get information that they couldn't have possibly known before. It really makes you wonder.
It really does make you question those assumptions about where our own minds end and where that dream reality actually begins.
Yeah.
There's actually this one story from what I read that really stuck with me. There was a woman, she was really struggling with this complicated problem at work. And in her dream, she's talking to this wise old woman, and the woman just offers this solution right out of the blue. And she wakes up and she's like, huh. And she tries out the solution, and it worked perfectly.
Wow.
But the really weird thing was, it was a solution that she never would have even considered in her waking life.
Wow. That just gave me chills. It's like our dreams can tap into this knowledge, this insight that our normal conscious minds just can't access. It makes you wonder if those dream figures are more than just projections.
Yeah, it really begs the question, are we maybe interacting with some higher aspect of ourselves, or even tapping into like a collective unconscious, some kind of shared reservoir of human experience? Some researchers even believe lucid dreaming might be a way for us to actually communicate with other minds, maybe even those who have passed away.
Okay, now we are going somewhere else. That's pretty out there. But this is what I think is so fascinating about lucid dreaming. It's like holding up a mirror to our own minds, only to find out that the reflection goes way deeper than we ever imagined.
It's like the deeper we go, the more we realize how much we actually don't know about dreams and about reality itself.
Exactly. And even though there are still so many unanswered questions, I think it's so cool that the research is catching up to the actual experience. It's good to know that this isn't just some, far out there stuff. There's real science behind it.
Oh, absolutely. We're really starting to uncover the actual mechanics of how lucid dreaming works in the brain.
Yeah.
We're seeing how it affects brain activity. We're finding new ways to potentially use it in therapy.
Yeah.
And, with each discovery, I think we gain this even deeper appreciation for the power of our own minds.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the possibilities. But before we wrap up, was there anything else from your research that really stuck with you? Something that you just found really impactful or you just kept thinking about?
It's funny because for all the cool scientific stuff and all the fascinating firsthand accounts that I read, there was this one question that an author asked that really just stuck with me. And he said, if we can create entire worlds when we dream, what does that say about the nature of reality, the reality that we experience when we're awake?
Wow, that's a big one. It kind of makes you question everything you think you know about what's real and what isn't.
Doesn't it? It suggests that reality, The way that we experience it might be more fluid, more subjective, even more dreamlike than we tend to think it is.
It's kind of a humbling thought, but it's also exciting at the same time. It reminds us just how little we know about the universe, but it also opens up all these incredible possibilities that we haven't even begun to explore.
And I think maybe that's the biggest invitation of lucid dreaming, to always question our assumptions, to try to expand our awareness, and to approach our waking lives and our dreaming lives
Yeah.
with a sense of wonder and curiosity.
I love that, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. So to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep exploring this incredible world, to keep questioning, to keep dreaming, and to never stop being amazed by the potential of your own mind. Until next time, happy dreaming.